So in this session, when we, well, you can hear, so in this session, when we focus on the throat area, perhaps you could just pop your fingers, your forefinger and your middle finger of your right hand, just place it in between your collarbones. Can you feel where there's that softish area? So according to the 7 chakra system, which goes back to about medieval yogic practice, your throat chakra, which we've been building up, I've kind of been talking through the chakras quite a bit. The throat chakra is where we, obviously we express ourselves. So not only do we breathe through our throats, but we also express ourselves with our voices through the throat. And when we think about new beginning and the potential of that, we often go ahead into things without really thinking about what we say or what we do. And that's because we are quite used to by now certain rhythms and certain routines, and we flick on the autopilot switch. Yeah, I know how to take my kids to school, or yeah, I know how to run the bath, and we do all these things with a sort of sense of, and so I can do the next thing. But back to the throat chakra. How often do we stop and think about what we say before we say it? And in what situations do we do that? When do our words come out quicker than our thoughts can formulate? It might be that you're very, very talkative and you communicate a lot. And in meetings, you'll be the person to pipe up and perhaps speak for other people. Or it might be that you often feel like you're holding something back. So today, through the practice, we'll focus on this sensation of finding an equilibrium in this area where you feel ready to share, and yet you can hold back and reserve your, have some reserve in terms of contribution towards conversations. Or perhaps you step back from saying something that may not be true or kind, or perhaps it's gossip. So there's the sense of that we can express ourselves very spiritually, very creatively, very truthfully when our throat chakra is aligned. So the neck and the throat are the focuses. There will be some challenging postures. There'll be some less challenging postures. So we're not just going to be turning our heads and lifting our chins. But what I want you to think about during the session is that we are going to focus on the compression of our throats. So we tuck the chin down, and that causes a heat to build. We compress. Just think about, you know, all those photos that you never want to be taken. We have double chins. We're going to compress the chin down, create lots of chins, generate heat, and then release by lifting up the chin and opening up through that area. If you have got a slightly tweaky neck at the moment, do go a little bit more gently into the practice. It's wonderful to have you join us for the session today, and I do hope that you enjoy it. As ever, step back if you find it too challenging. But if something is challenging and you go for it, just think about what a wonderful metaphor that is for when you come to challenges off the mat, okay? And as you're taking on those challenges, perhaps watch your thoughts. What do you say to yourselves about how you approach those? Do you give yourselves the chance to do something different, something challenging? So let's just practice this throat block. If you want to take a comfortable, easy seat, let the shoulders drop away. So how many times during the last week did you notice when your shoulders were tense? Did you notice them really just release down your back? So carry that practice on throughout this week. Lovely. And then maybe smile, or maybe chew some chewing gum. You want to feel your jaw really relax. Lovely. And then perhaps take your fingers and just smooth them over your eyebrows and your forehead, just to check that you haven't knitted your brows. And that feels quite nice. Okay. So we're going to practice an Om breath. And the reason we're doing that relates very much to this throat chakra area. So we're going to be causing vibrations, throat, in the jaw, in the cheeks, in the lips, in the nose, even in the ears. If you'd rather not chant Om with me, you can simply land on any sound that resonates, that feels easy for you to access right now. And Again, you may not have the same length breath as me, so just wait at the end of the exhalation of my arm, and then we'll do that 3 times in total. So I'm going to use my arms to show you, estimate the length of the breath, and you can join me because actually as you breathe in and you open up your arms, that gives you a nice sense of being able to inhale. Draw the chin in slightly towards the chest. Pause, drop the shoulders, and then just sit with the stillness of your breath for the moment and check on how your breath is. Is it raspy? Is it in the belly? Is it in the chest? Feel the breath move through your throat area. Does your throat feel constricted, raspy, open, relaxed? Just check in with that. Lovely. Then we're going to draw ourselves to the tops of our mats and come to standing. So once again, just check in here that your shoulders are relaxed. Your belly is soft. Bend your knees and slightly tilt your pelvis. So think about drawing your pelvis more upright, lifting through the front body. Navel draws in. You're standing nice and tall, feet together. Soften your jaw, soften your gaze, soften your belly and your shoulders, and make good contact with the ground, with the 4 corners of your soles of your feet. And then we inhale, draw up and look up. Feel the chin lift and the throat area open. Take another deep inhalation if you can break it into 2 sections there. And then exhale, we're going to fold softly forwards. So by increments, you may start to straighten your legs, but keep them soft to begin with. Place your tuck now and take your gaze to your navel. And as you look at your navel, think about drawing the navel into the spine and feel that constriction in the throat area. And then we inhale and we look up. Place your palms to your shins and come to that halfway pose. So now you're letting that throat area grow and be strong. Inhale here. And then exhale, roll down again. Again, you can bend your knees. Now, as you place your palms down this time, I'd like you to have your fingertips pointing backwards. So you're opening through your wrists and you're constricting through the throat. If you can start to straighten your legs, do so gently. Inhale, lift. So now we're going to move in this breath. Exhale, fold and tuck the chin. Fingertips pointing backwards. Inhale, lift. And lengthen. Exhale, fold. One more time. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, compress the chin. Gaze to navel. Fingertips point backwards. Lovely. Now move your right palm into the center of your mat and start to take your left arm to your pelvis and feel your left shoulder roll away. Let your gaze follow. Push through that palm. See if you can place a bit of weight on it. If you liked the open wrist option, there's no reason why you can't return to that here. So you can turn the fingertips round. Then gradually you inhale and lift that arm up. Now we're going to let that arm drop and then imagine you're pulling like stretchy cheese off the floor. Stretch the arm back and away. And then we bring the breath. Exhale as you lower down and inhale as you draw up. Keep the navel twisted in. Exhale, lower down. Inhale as you draw up. So you're rotating your gaze. You're moving into the neck. One more time. Inhale, look up. And exhale, release. And then we swap the palms over. So you can see from the front, the right palm comes, the left palm comes into the center. The right arm, sticky, gluey cheese, moves up and comes down. So repeat that. Inhale and lift up. Exhale, release down. Inhale, lift up. Check with your jaw that your tongue isn't pressing into the mouth. Exhale, release down. Two more. Inhale up. Lift up with the shoulder. Lift away from the earth. One last time. Inhale, look up. And then exhale, look down. Lovely. So now we're going to place both palms onto the floor and step back into plank briefly. Inhale the navel to the belly, push away from the floor with your contact areas. Then drop the knees, the chest and the chin. Keep the hips up. So your hips are up and I'd like your focus to come to your chin. Keep your toes tucked, your knees together. Keep a lift in your navel and then take your focus to your breath. So your throat is long here. Inhale, keep the elbows into the sides of the body. Exhale. Inhale over the throat. Exhale. Inhale and exhale. Gently lower down your hips and roll, just gently roll your shoulders away from your ears. We're going to zip the legs together and come into cobra pose. So inhale, draw up. You can sit there in baby cobra if you like. If you want to take it a little bit more intensively, hover your palms above the earth, press the toes in, the kneecaps engage and draw up towards the thighs, and your gaze is lifted. Inhale, feel your shoulders draw down towards your waist. Exhale, lovely. Inhale, how is your breath over your throat? Do you have a lump in your throat? Inhale. Exhale. So we're opening and strengthening as we release through the throat area here. Imagine a radiation from the throat outward. Inhale and exhale. Great. We're going to lower the palms back down, tuck the toes, send your hips towards your heels and have a nice long stretch in the lower back. Just check in there. Take your gaze underneath your right armpit. Then soften your breath and enjoy the length of the breath from the armpit to the fingertips. Inhale to the center and then take your gaze underneath the left armpit. Exhale, so sink the hips back towards the heels, feel the length in the spine. Inhale. Exhale, great, lovely, lovely. Inhale. And exhale, inhale, come forward. Lift up into downward facing dog. So just walk your dog through a little bit. Deep bend your right knee and your left knee. Ease through the back of the body. Then inhale, I'd like you to peel your right leg off the ground, engage the core and draw the knee into the chest. Then come up onto the tiptoes of the back foot and see if you can draw your upper body forwards, your knee comes with you, and then soundlessly place that right foot between the palms. So just practice bending into that front knee here. Where is your gaze? So if your gaze is down to your back foot, you're constricting your throat. That's fine. I'm not telling you to do anything otherwise yet. Try lifting your gaze and see about the contrast in the movement. So I'm gradually increasing the bending and the stretching in the front leg. And eventually what we're going to do is hold these poses. So come down to a nice bent knee. Keep that front knee tracking to the midline of the body to protect it. If you want to lower the back knee, there's an option there to do that. Otherwise, keep it lifted and straight. So you're lifting up through the chest, roll the head to the shoulders away, and feel your throat expand. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. One more breath here. Inhale. And exhale. Then we're going to push up, straighten the front leg, drop the gaze, drop the palms either side of the front hand if that's available to you. Take the forehead to the knee, and 3 breaths here. So it's really useful to think about what your thoughts are, because the thoughts are the precursors to the words that we speak, the truth or the untruth that we speak in the end. So sometimes in yoga, you may think to yourself, I can't do that, or, oh, that hurts, so I won't do it. If we said the first thing that came into our minds, like the first thoughts that we encounter in our practice, sometimes we're not giving ourselves the chance to really explore and feel what we are capable of. Lovely. So you've held that for a nice 3 breaths. What we're going to do is place the palms either side of the front foot even, and step back into downward facing dog. This time we're going to lift the left leg up high off the floor, so you can let your left knee bend and your left heel come towards your right bicep. Take a look underneath your left armpit, just like we did in child's pose a moment ago. Inhale here and exhale. So let that knee draw long and you feel the left side of the body really extend. Feel your breath. Can you feel the intercostal muscles spreading as you breathe? Now, if this is all right for you, you stay here. Otherwise, turn onto the inside, the outer edge, the little toe edge of your right foot so that your right toes are pointing to the left side of the mat. The left leg comes behind you. Stretch the right leg straight and then inhale the left arm up so the hand points over the head. Wild thing, so nice and open in the throat now. Lift the hips, lift the chest and the heart. Inhale. Exhale, 2 more breaths here, strong. Inhale, get a rest afterwards. See if you can challenge yourself. Exhale. 1 more breath, inhale. Come out with grace, exhale. Lower the hand, rotate on the back foot. Lower your both feet down into downward facing dog. And then come into child's pose. So however you like to take your child's pose, with your hands stretched in front, or with them pointing behind you. If you like wide knees, child's pose, take whichever variation feels right for you. But I would like you to tuck your chin. Feel the forehead on the ground and the heat building up in the throat area again. Imagine this heat is the potential that you're going to use as we build up again to wild thing on the opposite side. But forget about all that now. Leave your practice behind. What shapes you do or do not make are not important. Connection with your breath, with how you feel, with what you're thinking. That's what we practice for. And when you become aware of it, that's when you can really start to apply discipline. Relax the jaw. Relax the shoulders away from the ears. Let them heavy down towards the ground. All right. Let's just, before we build up to the other side, draw ourselves up and sit on our heels. Now, if sitting on the heels isn't an option for you, it's absolutely fine to sit with crossed legs. I'm just going to turn towards the camera so you can see what I'm doing. We're just going to practice lion's breath. So we're going to open the knees slightly and place the palms on top of the knees. My toes are touching. We're going to take a nice deep inhalation, and then as we exhale, we're going to exhale on a ha breath, so more vibration in the face, the throat, And we're going to stick the tongue out as well. So we're really drawing up from the belly and releasing out, softening all that breathing apparatus involved. So let's take a nice deep inhalation. Soften the shoulders and then that's really scary. Let's do that twice more. And one more time. Inhale, draw up right from the sacrum. Lovely. Hopefully you feel like you've expired some air. And it's also a really good thing to do if you're feeling pent up and you have no other way of expressing it. Words are not our only form of expression, as we know. Let's just tuck those toes and stretch out the legs one more time. Just 3 breaths here in downward dog. Come to a place where you find some challenge in your downward facing dog. So perhaps try and lengthen your downward dog a little bit. Walk your hands away from your heels. If you feel like your heels are forever floating in the same place, lift up, and then as you exhale, press a little bit more through the outside of the body, the posterior body. See if you can heavy those heels down to the floor. That's challenge, that's yoga. Okay, lovely. Inhale, come to your left knee up to your chest, and then exhale onto the tiptoes of the back foot. Bring the knee with you and soundlessly lower that left knee down to the floor. Now keep thinking about drawing your right hip forwards and your inner thighs together as you lubricate through that front knee joint. So really draw your left hip back and your right hip forward as you're doing these bends and stretches. So practice also taking your gaze up and forwards as you bend into the knee and back towards your back toes or beyond as you straighten it. And then when you come back down to your next bent knee, we're going to sit there and inhale, look up. So lots to think about. If you'd like to drop your back knee, please do. Keep the inner thighs drawing together. Draw the chest up. One more breath here. And then exhale, take the gaze first to the navel and then to the space behind you. See if your forehead can grace your knees. So you're really curling your head, tucking your chin under. So you contract and you compress your thyroid here. So it makes it a good posture for metabolism. So 3 breaths here. Soften your jaw. Is your tongue pressing against your teeth? Just check in when it is that you feel that tension start to build in your jaw. Then you're going to walk your palms a little bit further forward and step back into downward facing dog one more time. Inhale the right leg up. Lift that right hip high and bend at the knee. If you like, this is where you stay. You take your gaze underneath the right armpit. Otherwise, turn to the outer edge of your left foot so that your left toes are pointing towards the center of the mat. And then you step your right foot behind you. Extend your left foot away. Inhale, press up. Draw the shoulder blades together as if they're pushing up the front ribs. So your right arm can come overhead, it can come to the side if you want to take a few circles. Do whatever you feel is best for you here and accentuate the sense of your throat, your chest opening up. And then gracefully, we come back down into our downward facing dog. Love, can you come down onto the knees? And take your child's pose. So a really nice way to get more of a compression in the throat is to actually extend through the back of the neck. So if you take your palms together and place them at the base of the neck, you may feel a little bit more rounded in the back of the neck. Gaze towards the navel. Now, as we're focusing on expression, all sorts of things may be coming through your mind. What people have said to you recently, things that maybe feel nice or things that hurt. See if you can acknowledge those things and how they make you feel, whether pleasant or unpleasant, and accept them. Of course, we'd rather people always went around saying how amazing we are, but in reality, it's not always that way. And how often do we go around saying how amazing people are? When something nice comes into our head, do we express it? Best to express it immediately, I find, before we get thoughts replaced by other things. So how do we create our realities? Through what we say. Lovely. Now we're going to extend once again onto the belly on the floor. So come into plank, and then we'll all lower down slowly together. 5, keep the elbows in. 4, 3, 2, 1, and release. Great. Let's come back into that cobra. So draw the hips, the legs together, press the toes into the earth. The kneecaps lift off. The belly is engaged and the shoulders roll back. Inhale, looking forwards. Now you can see that my palms are lifted off the floor. If you can do that, your lower back your whole spine is really helping you keep upright. You could then reach back and extend this openness in the chest area by interlacing the fingers. Which thumb is on top now? Just take note. Inhale, feel your chest lift. Exhale, work hard to hold. So use that breath as your support. Inhale, calm it down. Exhale, what are you saying to yourself now? Is it kind? Is it something you would say to somebody you like? Inhale, breathe in. And exhale, release. So just let your right ear come to the floor, your toes together, your heels fall out, have a rest. And then we're going to repeat that so your opposite thumb is on top. So come into cobra, zip the legs together, press the toes into the ground, lift the knees off the floor, abdominal draws in, and inhale, lift up. Obviously, one of the main challenges of virtual yoga instructing is that I'm unable to say to you the right truth for your practice. But one of the advantages of that, if we turn it on its head, is that you have to develop that internal instructor, and that can stay with you, and it really can guide you through your practice over the years. Lovely, release, left cheek on the ground, toes together, heels apart. But you have to be sure that the instructor that you're listening to has got your best interests at heart. So sometimes we need to question what's being said to us. But yoga is that sort of practice where you can really question what's going on. Now I'd like you to just take your hands so that your fingertips are just underneath your shoulders and bend your left knee up. See if you can reach your left hand back and draw your heel towards your hips. How's that feeling? Okay, just getting to know your knees a little bit. They may feel a little bit stiff as the damp season sort of sets in a little bit more. They may not. It's actually beautiful out there right now. And then take the right heel towards the right foot, towards the right, the right heel towards the right hip. And just see how that's feeling for you. So if you're feeling a bit tender in the knees, this next posture might not be for you, or in the lower back. So what I would recommend is that you keep practicing drawing alternate legs in. If you're going to come with me, keep hold of your right foot, bend the left foot too, and take a hold of the left foot. So you could stay here. This is before we've activated a kicking sensation in the knees. So what I'd like you to do is think about 2 motions at once. It's quite a lot to ask. We're going to kick the feet into the hands. The knees might lift off the floor, And think about drawing the knees together. So we're coming into bow pose, and you don't have to look like you're doing very much at all. I want you to take your focus into the kick, into your hands. Your chest might not even lift up off the floor. That's absolutely fine. I just want you to feel like you're getting that extension and space through the chest area. Smile, broaden, wiggle your toes, release any tension. We're going to hold it for 3 more breaths. Lovely. Then we need to come into a counter posture. So release your heels and push back towards child's pose. We're not going to stay here very long, so perhaps don't lower down too much. Keep your hips lifted. Perhaps tuck your toes too. And then inhale, come into cat-cow. So you want to have your knees beneath your hips, your palms underneath your shoulders. If you liked feeling open in the wrists, you could here too, turn your fingers towards your knees and see how that affects your cat-cow. This is a posture that we come to a lot. Inhale, let the belly drop down towards the floor. Feel the throat open. And then exhale, gradually round through the back and take the gaze to the navel. And now, because of the rotation of your shoulders, you're likely not to round up through your thoracic spine as much. So you can always swap round just so that you can get that full wiggle through the spine. You may prefer to move your spine in different orientations. Perhaps draw some circles in your hips as you undulate through the spine. So you get this concept of your spine being able to move in all sorts of directions. It can move both laterally, you can bend and flex it. Lovely. So we're going to come once more into downward facing dog. Tuck the toes and lift through the hips. Take 3 nice big breaths. Really steady your thoughts. So you may notice that there's fewer postures today, fewer instructions to offer you. Because when we start to really focus on what is being said, we tend to need less. And we decide what language we utilize, that we employ, with precision and care. It's a bit like when you're writing an essay. You choose each word like a little gem. So fewer postures, but still plenty to think about. The meaning of each posture, the gem of each posture is still there. Walk your soles of your feet towards your palms, and we'll just practice inhale, halfway lift, and exhale, forward fold, and take the gaze to the navel. How is this different to the first few that you did? Inhale, halfway lift, exhale, gaze to the navel. Twice more, inhale, lift, exhale, roll. One more time, inhale, lift up, exhale, roll down. Bend through the knees and keep really curved in the upper body. So you're like a rag doll, your navel engages, you push through the floor, and you stack the vertebrae of the spine one by one. The head is the last thing to straighten up. Roll the shoulders away from the ears. And check in with the connection with the floor and maybe with the breath. So take your palms to the belly if that's nice for you. We're going to take 3 really nice calming breaths here. So breathe out to the side. Inhale, lift up, look up towards your palms, and exhale through the center line. Inhale, lift up, look up. Exhale through the center line. One more time. Inhale, lift up, look up. Exhale through the center line. So we're going to breathe up one more time. This time we're going to hold it at the top. Engage your navel, draw your chest high, lift out at the back, and I'd like you to lean slightly back as if you're drawing the shape of a waterfall. So think about drawing up, out of your waist, away from the floor. Don't think about depth. A waterfall is about height. Then draw your focus back to your navel. Are you protecting your lower spine by engaging your abdominal muscles? Inhale, lift up, look up. Exhale, one more breath here. Inhale and exhale. Follow that waterfall with your body down now. Just drape yourselves down towards your feet, towards the mat, and then come to sit down on the nice solid earth. Draw your feet about hip width apart and gradually lower yourselves down. We're going to come towards our tabletop practice, our bridge pose practice. So draw the feet, the heels in towards the hips so that you can tickle them with your fingers potentially. Check that you're not rolling out with the soles of your feet. So the inner edges of your feet are also pressing down into the mat. So are the outer edges. Lovely. Press your palms into the earth. Start to draw up through your pelvis. And inhale, lift the hips off the floor. Then come to your chin. Draw it in and get that compressed feeling. Now, if this is enough for you, you can stay here. Otherwise, you can draw your shoulder blades closer together and have that sensation of them pushing the rib cage, the front rib cage up and forwards. So your chin may get closer to your chest. Enjoy that compression. If you want a little bit more again, you can draw your wrists, your palms underneath your glutes, and hold your hips up to the ceiling. So you get this really nice supported back bend. Come back to the feet, the inner edges pressing down into the ground. So wherever you are, see if you can focus on that heat in the throat. Now the throat chakra is a sort of turquoise color. Beautiful, what a lovely color. The ocean, the beautiful sky. See if you can draw that into your mind as you heat through this area and kind of cleanse it of how you felt before. Lovely. So if you've been supporting yourself with your palms, or if you've had your fingers interlaced, you could just release that now as we all come to lower the spine, vertebra by vertebra, down towards the earth. Take a moment just to rotate through the neck. So you look left and right and ease through the neck and the chin. Maybe again, come to chewing that bubble gum. Draw the knees into the chest and just take a few circles through the hips. Now I'm going to give you a couple of options here. One of them is shoulder stand. So if you have a shoulder stand practice, you can come with me there. Otherwise, you're going to practice having your legs going up, vertical, towards the ceiling. If you've got a tea towel within your range, you could hook it over your feet and you get that practice of holding, pushing up through your heels. Draw your toes down towards themselves. So we're inverting now with your legs. It's a good alternative to shoulder stand, but shoulder stand really has something else because you also get this wonderful compression through, and it goes all the way. You have an increased inversion because your hips are also going to be lifted. So very much like the start of bridge pose, you place the palms down by the side, but this time draw the heels in towards the buttocks, the knees in towards the chest. It's very important that you do not look left or right in this posture. So tune into the instructions or from your previous knowledge of this practice. Engage your navel, push through your palms and bring your knees a little closer to you. Start to lift up straight through the legs. Rotate so that you can place your palms either side of the spine. Draw up through the navel. And your toes are now pointing up towards the sky. Again, avoid temptation to look left or right. You can walk your heels of your hand closer towards your shoulder blades. You'll feel that increases the lift in your torso.
So wherever you are with your inversion, we're going to stick here for 5 breaths. Now that's not very many. 25 breaths is the Ashtanga practice. So if you'd like to stay for 10, stay for 10. So all the time here, you are flooding your chest and your throat area with a different sort of blood. These inversions are super good for blood pressure. They're really good to do before you're going to sleep. Obviously, a lot of you are probably not intending to go to sleep, as this is a lunch hour practice. Anyway, when you come to the base of your 5th breath, we're going to lower into plow. So if you have been in the alternative variation of shoulder stand, plow will not be accessible directly from there. So this instruction is for shoulder stand only. Keep your legs together, keep supporting your back, and lower your toes as if they're going to come to the floor behind you. Lovely. Keep your hips lifted, and if you want to, you can interlace the hands and extend them away from you. Walk your shoulders closer together. So again, this is increasing the compression in the throat area. Stay there for 5 to 10 breaths. If you were in the alternate version of the inversion today, so your hips were lowered down into the mat, I can tell you how to get into plow pose too. So place your palms and strengthen them into the floor alongside your body, and see if you can use some propulsion by pressing through the palms to lift the hips up and get yourself into plow pose that way. So support yourself. If you're not used to being in plow, keep the palms to your lower back and let yourselves know that it's okay if your toes are hovering above the floor. If you've got a sofa like this here, that's a great way to provide yourself with a prop to practice the pose. How do you respond to challenges? Okay. From plow pose to come out, it's very similar to how you come in. So not through shoulder stand, but place your palms down by the side. Keep your legs active and belly engaged as you unravel the spine. So vertebra by vertebra, let it come down towards the earth. Your palms are like brakes. You won't go too fast. Oh, that's so nice. So before we wrap up and go into Shavasana, you can sort of choose what you like to do. You could come into a twist if you like. You can let your knees drop down to one side and then the other. But don't go too fast through that, yeah? Let yourselves be mindful and aware. Perhaps 5 breaths is a good amount of time to be sticking in a twist. 3 minimum. If you really feel like you need to do a squat or any other pose, it'd be really interesting to see, for you to be your instructors. How would you string together the last thing you do before you go into Shavasana? Lovely. Let's draw the knees up to the chest, and then if you're in twist, perhaps you're on the other side, and then we're all going to come into our Shavasana. So once again, you choose a little bit what you would like to do with your Shavasana. You can lie on the floor, supine, so that's with your back against the floor. Let your arms and legs, they can come out quite wide if you've got the space, if you'd like that sensation of expansion. You can lie prone, Shavasana, so your forehead would be against the floor, which means you might need to make a pillow with your palms. You could even take child's pose. You could have your soles of your feet together and Supta Baddha Konasana, whichever you feel you like best. So please keep lying there. And I would like you to consider, usually people set intentions at the beginning of a yoga session, but now that we have spent sort of 45 minutes marinating in this concept of the importance of expression, I'd like you to set an intention for when you get off the mat. Is there a situation or just a general sense
that you may want to communicate clearly. Perhaps there's something that you would like to say with honesty, with compassion, that you haven't said, that's been kept up for some reason. Perhaps your intention might be to release a sense of fear for speaking up for yourself and saying something that you think has need to be said but hasn't yet so far. Perhaps there's somebody else who needs speaking up for. Perhaps your intention is actually not about what you say, but how you listen to people. Maybe you're going to promise yourself not to talk over somebody the next time that you're really enthusiastic about something that they're saying, and let them finish their sentence. Or maybe you won't dominate the conversation about something you feel passionately about. See if you can get the sense of whether you are in equilibrium or whether your throat chakra may be overactive or underactive. Can you choose or set an intention that feels appropriate to you? So perhaps as you lie there now, with this intention that you've chosen, you can let everything else drop away. Let the floor really support you. Let the throat really relax. It's an interesting meditation. It's quite a challenging one to keep in mind always. But if you think about speech going through 3 doors before it leaves us. The first door, we ask ourselves, is it true? Is it honest? The second door, we ask ourselves, is it kind? How's it going to be felt? And the third door, is it necessary? Do I need to say something right now? Have a moment of stillness. Perhaps start to move in any which way that feels appropriate to you. Another piece of homework perhaps today is to find a piece of music, and one that you really enjoy, and really let yourselves listen to that music. Often when we are really stimulated by music and sound, we then produce sounds that resonate with us more deeply. We think of ourselves as instruments. How well do we treat our instruments? What is the quality of the sound that we make? As you come up to seating, be very, very careful that you don't rush up, and also that as you accept yourselves back into the space that you're in, that you accept that space kindly. Lovely. Perhaps we're just going to draw into the neck slightly before we finish. If you want to do so, or if you have to dash off, please go ahead. But just draw over your neck, over to your right hand side, place the right palm over the left ear and just heavy a bit down into the neck. So this is a really good one. If you're feeling tension in the neck, if your posture at your desk is perhaps causing tension there, if you've got a lot on at the moment and you feel quite stressed, it's really, really good to relieve tension in that area. So breathe length. Lovely. Now it's quite nice to do these exercises at the end of the practice because our body tends to yield a little bit more. Lovely. Let's go over to the opposite side. All right. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Namaste. I hope to see you again next week. Cheers.
Thank you.